Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Horse Race Bets with me, Ken Rudulph. Every day, we talk about the news, notes, rumors, gossip, and anything developing in the crazy world of horse racing, and I kind of filter it through my 25 years of experience and give you my perspective, and hopefully it makes things easier for you to understand, and maybe it makes you maybe more willing to bet, and maybe it makes your plays more successful. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make money. It's pretty simple. And sometimes you just got to be able to kind of project and look forward and see exactly what's going to be happening. And that's what we were able to do in our Kentucky Derby prep races. Last time we spoke, we had 3 races coming up over the course of the weekend: the Holy Bull, Withers, and the Robert B. Lewis. And all of them holding Kentucky Derby qualifying points. So let's get started. Let's go and take a look or talk about the horse that really was super exciting to watch. In the Holy Bull, we were watching Burnham Square, and he did not disappoint at all. Probably the most impressive of the performances all weekend. Horse has been known as a deep closer, so I was hoping we weren't going to be too far back. And they broke in a great spot, got over to the rail, and then immediately decided they didn't want to be that far away, so they boom. Little push button action to get into position up against the rail. Well, then, as they started to go around, some of that traffic against the rail backed up, and they almost got shut off. They had to move out and then get to another position. Then after that, when it was time to run for home, they had to swing outside, and when they did and they got clear sailing, boom, right past everybody. Really, really impressive performance. Very, very professional. And with the 20 points that he earned, he automatically, boom, he moves all the way up to number 4 on the Kentucky Derby qualifying points list. So that's impressive. And hopefully we'll see this horse come back in the Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream Park. In New York at Aqueduct, it was the $250,000 Withers. Good distance, right? 1 1/8 to get them ready for the 1.25 coming up for the Kentucky Derby. We were watching the deep closer Omaha. And that deep closer part is what got him in trouble. He was really far back. And by the time he turned for home and tried to run, the winner, Captain Cook, was gone. The favorite had everything in control. And then Omaha came running on for 3rd. And, it was kind of impressive because he came through, he was up on the inside, then he swung all the way to the outside and kept on running. So they'll have to figure out how to get their move started earlier. He's a rich strike kind of horse, where he doesn't want to be anywhere near what's happening early on, but then he comes running late. I don't know if that's going to work out for him. We'll see if there's enough pace for him to run at, but if he gets pace, he could be interesting if he makes it to the Kentucky Derby. Speaking of pace, we know where that pace is going to come from. We know at least one horse is going to go to the front end if he's still around for the Kentucky Derby, and that's Bob Baffert's number 1 contender. Citizen Bull ran him off their feet in the Robert B. Lewis at the distance of 1 mile at Santa Anita. And I thought maybe with a shorter distance and with some sprinters coming out of their maiden breaking races like Rodriguez for Bob Baffert, I thought that horse would try to gun out there and take it to Citizen Bull. He could not. Citizen Bull got an easy lead, cruised around, and controlled everything. It was a really useful performance because anytime you race, you get some stamina, right? He gets more experience, he gets more confidence, and he seems to me like the kind of horse that will not, and I mean this, will not let other horses get in front of him. That's going to be interesting in the Kentucky Derby because I'm not quite sure if there's any other true speed that's not in the Baffert barn that can handle this horse if he wants to go to the front end and do some damage. So that's how those 3 prep races ended up over the weekend. And now we take a look at our Kentucky Derby top 5 and how those performances impacted my decision making when it comes to the top 5 horses that I'm watching. Citizen Bull is number 1 on everybody's list because he's got that speed. And as I mentioned, he does not let you pass him. Tenacious. So with that speed and tenacity, Citizen Bull's number 1. Barnes, the $3.1 million purchase, who's got the speed. We'll see if he's got the class to continue moving forward, but he's just up there because of the talent. Burnham Square with that extremely professional performance at Gulfstream Park moves up to number 3 on my list. I loved everything they did with that horse in that race. Now they just got to continue working on fitness, mentality, right? Professionalism, and how to finish. Just making sure this horse stays on top of his P's and Q's, as it were. The other two horses on the list didn't run this week. Built and Hill Road are both deep closers. So they're the kind of horses that are Rich Strike, Giacomo type horses that need help up front. And if they get it, they could be interesting when the real running starts, when they turn for home in the Kentucky Derby. But you got to get there first. And speaking of getting there, the whole process of getting to the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, or the Belmont, by the way, the Belmont this year, once again run at Saratoga at the distance of 1.25 miles instead of the traditional 1.5 miles. But in order to get into those races, you have to nominate your 3-year-olds. And a lot of folks went through the process of nominating their horses. In fact, 373 Triple Crown nominees. That's up 7.8% from last year. Todd Pletcher leading all trainers with 32 horses. And he admits that he's kind of behind schedule trying to get one of those or two of those at least to kind of rise to the top. So he knows what he's dealing with. Bob Baffert, back after the 3-year ban and suspension from Churchill Downs and the Kentucky Derby, he has 21, led by, of course, Citizen Bull, who was the #1 Kentucky Derby point qualifier at 60. And then here's the thing that makes this story intriguing, because the international interest has been increasing over the past 10 years, their interest in United States racing. And Japan is probably one of the more interested regions in the world. They have now put forth 69 Triple Crown nominees. That's a record for Japanese-based horses from 44 separate or individual trainers. That means a lot of stables are understanding that as far as your stud value, and that's what this is about. If you can get that, if you can get your horse to place in the Kentucky Derby or maybe even win, well, the Japanese breeding is just off the charts to begin with, and then now this whoop kicks it all the way up. So that's why they get involved. If you do it now, it may cost you $6,000, right? If you miss the window, $600, then it bumps up to $6,000, then it bumps up to $200,000 if you decide that week of the Kentucky Derby that your runner should be in that race, but you didn't nominate them. So you make that move now, so you save yourself money, headache, and heartache later on. So that's what's happening with the connections getting set for that. All right, so what's happening with us? Well, we're in the beginning of our week, right? We know how horse racing works. Sure, they run every single day, but you're not supposed to play every single day. You take some days off. We take Monday and Tuesday off. Depending upon what's happening with the tracks, you can shift that. But for this week, nothing on Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, we get into it. Tampa has a really lovely late pick 5. Look at that. Now, if you're a glutton for punishment and you feel like you've got Jesus on your side, then you can play Turfway Park on Thursday. It's always great action. And if you can hit, it just takes one and it changes everything. Then when we get closer to the weekend on Friday, I really like Oaklawn Park. Their late pick 5 looks very intriguing. And Oaklawn Park, to me, is similar to Turfway Park in the sense that they're good-sized fields and they're very competitive. And when they turn for home, the devil is working. Crazy stuff happens. But if you're right, woohoo! Then we get to Saturday. Any track that has a big race, they do a great job of putting together a nice card for the entire day. Tampa will do that with their Sam F. Davis card on Saturday. So you want to play the whole card on Tampa and, of course, keying in on that race in the Sam F. Davis. We'll talk more about the horses coming up in that race tomorrow. But there's an undefeated horse that's beginning his 3-year-old campaign. His name is Poster. So we'll be talking about that horse and the other horses in that field as well. And then Sunday, well, it's the big game. Chiefs and Eagles. We call them the Eagles. Chiefs and Eagles. And you want to play Gulfstream Park. They'll get an early card. You'll be done before kickoff, and you'll have made all your money, and you can do whatever you're going to do. If you're playing all those props in the Super Bowl, there's so much money to be made and so much fun to be had. So that's how we approach our week, right? That's what we're working with, and that's what's happening with our Triple Crown prep races. We'll have one coming up on Saturday. We'll talk more about that in the next episode. In the meantime, and in between time, and until next time, thanks for hanging out with us here on Horse Race Bets. I'm Ken Rudulph, and until then, good luck and enjoy.